Facts Verse presents Photos from U.S. President Weddings Before They Became President. If you expect the wedding of a U.S. president to be extravagant and sophisticated, well, you are perfectly in order. The President of the U.S. occupies the highest office in the land, and for this reason, you'd expect his bride-to-be to wear an outstanding wedding gown on that special day. The truth is that many of these first couples were just ordinary people when they got married. Some of the 3 weddings were low-key, and the brides wore simple wedding gowns. In fact, 2 future First Ladies did not even wear white on that special day. Before we get into our list, let us know in the comments which First Lady is your favorite of all time. Also, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss our future videos. Jackie Kennedy wore a last-minute gown. The elegant Jackie Kennedy. She contacted Anne Lowe to create the perfect wedding gown for her. However, a burst water pipe ruined the wedding gown. Anne Lowe had to come up with a last-minute gown to save the day, and as it turned out, that last-minute gown was truly an iconic wedding gown. Eleanor Roosevelt's high-collared gown. Eleanor met Franklin Delano Roosevelt when she was only 14 years old. The future president was all of 18 at the time, and there was no indication that he would occupy America's highest office. 4 years later, Franklin D. Roosevelt got married to Eleanor Roosevelt in a modest wedding ceremony. Eleanor wore a high-collared gown with an elegant hat. Barbara Bush and the mother-in-law's veil. Barbara Pierce, which is her maiden name, met George H.W. Bush in 1941 when they were both teenagers. 4 years later, in 1945, they got married in Bryan, New York. The veil that Barbara wore on that special day belonged to her mother-in-law. In fact, the elder Mrs. Bush, Dorothy Walker Bush, wore the same veil on her own wedding day many years previous. Nancy Reagan wore a simple dress. Nancy Davis at the time and Ronald Reagan, they were in the movie industry before they got married in 1952. The couple opted for a simple affair to avoid the press, and only the best man and the matron of honor attended the wedding. Nancy was pregnant at the time, so she chose a simple no-frills gown to hide her baby bump. Hillary Clinton's mother bought her wedding gown at the mall. Bill Clinton and Hillary Rodham were so much in love that they didn't have time to plan an elaborate wedding ceremony. One day before the wedding, Hillary still didn't have a wedding gown, so her mother rushed off to the Fayetteville Mall and bought a Victorian lace gown for her daughter. Michelle Obama's pretty white dress. Michelle's maiden name was Michelle Robinson, and she wasn't all that keen on dating Barack Obama because he was a professional colleague of hers. However, she just couldn't resist that handsome and outspoken guy. They met in 1989, and 3 years later, they got married at Trinity United Church of Christ in Chicago. Michelle wore a pretty white dress and a veil on her wedding day. Rosalyn Carter's style. Rosalyn had a style of her own when she married Jimmy Carter. Jimmy and Rosalyn got married in 1946 in Plains, Georgia. Jimmy was 21 years old, Rosalyn was 18 at the time. Jimmy Carter had just graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy, so he wore his Navy uniform. Rosalyn wore a knee-length dress with gloves and a hat. Edith Wilson wore black on her wedding day. President Woodrow Wilson married Edith Bowling Galt in December of 1915. This was the second marriage for both bride and groom. Edith Bowling Galt was a widow, and the president had lost his wife the previous year. Edith Bowling Galt wore black on her wedding day, but there was no bad omen anywhere. She was an excellent wife and wise advisor to President Woodrow Wilson. Frances Cleveland's white and orange wedding gown. When Frances Folsom married Grover Cleveland in 1886, she was 21 years old. Her husband was 49. Apparently, there was both love and friendship in this relationship. When Frances Folsom's father died in 1875, Grover Cleveland became the administrator of the estate of the deceased Mr. Folsom. Grover took care of the young Frances, and when she was 21, he decided to do it for life. Frances wore a white wedding gown with orange blossoms as well as laurel leaves. Betty Ford did not wear white on her wedding day. Elizabeth Ann Bloomer, a.k.a. Betty, did not wear white on her wedding day. When she married the congressional representative Gerald Ford in 1948, it was her second marriage. She opted not to wear white. For all that, she still looked great in her beautiful dress with matching pumps. Melania Trump's special wedding gown. Melania's wedding gown was an award-winning creation. The gown was a special creation from Christian Dior, and it cost over $100,000. It took 550 hours to make the gown, and the dress weighed about 60 pounds. It came with a 16-foot veil and a 13-foot-long train. Melania Trump wore the gown with pride, and well she might, because she truly looked impressive in it. And subscribe for more.